Hi everyone, it's Easter time and I've been getting many requests for making Neapolitan Pastiera. And although it's very time consuming and it has a lot of different steps, if you have the patience, it's well worth it. What I have here is barley or grain. This has been soaking since yesterday afternoon. Last night, I strained the water out and put some fresh water in, and it's been soaking ever since. What I'm gonna do is strain this and then cook it in milk and butter until it's tender. In a few minutes, I'm gonna lay everything out. I have my pans prepped. I use spring foam pans, and I put this underneath so that sometimes it may seep through, so you don't have a mess in your oven, and I put it also on a tray. I'm doubling the recipe today because I usually make one for my Aunt Camilla, who lives in the Bronx and 92 years old, and she doesn't bake or cook. I mean, she cooks great, but she doesn't bake, so I usually give her one, and the one is for us on Easter Sunday. So I just wanted to lay the groundwork, and then now I'm going to show you all of the ingredients that I put into the pastiera. Okay, so I rinsed the wheat that I had been soaking for 24 hours. I rinsed the water once. You could do it twice if you want. Rinse the water, put the wheat back in the pot and put more water, cover it about a little bit over the wheat. And then I rinsed it out this morning. And what I have here is, I have the wheat that was soaking for 24 hours, and for every cup of, I have like 3/4 of a pound of barley in here. And so I put 2 cups of milk for every pie that I'm making with a stick of butter. As I said, this recipe is doubled. While this is cooking low, I'm gonna make the sweet pastry. This is the sweet pastry recipe. This is for a double recipe. You cut it in half, although I'm going to put the recipe for one on the video below. So I have 4 cups of flour, and I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 4 eggs. This will make 2 crusts for the 10-inch spring foam pans. Okay, so I'm going to mix this all together, and then I'll show you. You put the 4 cups of flour, which has the salt and the baking powder in there. Okay, we're going to pulse it a little bit to mix it up. Okay. Then I'm going to add the sugar. Pulse that together. And then I'll add some of the butter. All of the butter, actually. And the eggs and the vanilla. And then I'll roll it out for you. Okay, so what I do is I just cut it up a little bit. Evenly distribute it. That's my granddaughter. Okay, so we got the stick of butter. A teaspoon of vanilla. Whoop.
A little extra.
1 for the pot. And 4 eggs. Now you mix this together, and if it doesn't stick together fully, you can add a few teaspoons of water to get it to come together. It should be a little sticky. So I put it on, and I put it on dough. If you don't have one of these mixes, you're going to have to do it by hand or in another mixer with a dough hook. I'm gonna have to add some water. You can use the tap water, but I like to use this water. So I'm gonna start with a few tablespoons here and see how it comes together. That was like a couple of tablespoons. We're gonna need a little bit more. That was another tablespoon. Coming together, but I like it to be a little bit more sticky. So I would say if you're going to add, it's more like a quarter of a cup. There we go. It's moving and it's coming together. Okay. I just want to mix it a little bit better, but that's a good consistency. Alright. I told you it was going to take a while. This is like a 4-step process. And if you have the patience, like I said, it's worth it. Okay, so here we go. It's all together now. How about there it is. That's what it looks like. It's sticky. It's a little sticky, but it's not too wet, not too dry. You're gonna roll it out on a floured board. I'll come back when I'm doing it. Okay, so I have the dough cut in half. I made a recipe for 2. You could do 1. I have my wheat cooking on the stove. I put it on medium until I got it to a little boil, but it's on low. You're gonna have to, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour on low until the barley, you have to taste it, is to the, like a little al dente, because it's gonna cook in the pie too. And now I'm gonna roll this out. I've sprayed my spring foam pans. Make sure the bottoms are all the way in so you don't have any spillage. And I just put the foil on it to reinforce that. Okay, so I'm gonna roll this out. And this is a little sweet dough. It's not like a regular apple pie crust. It's a sweet, not that sweet. I only put a little half a cup of sugar, or put a quarter, I think, a cup of sugar for 1. I have to look. You know, I only do this once a year, so I have my recipe pretty much down pat, but every once in a while, you know, I'm getting older. I need to remind myself. I have to lay my stuff out, because if I don't lay the stuff out, I forget to put something in. And then I say to myself, was that 3 cups or 4 cups? And then sometimes I have to put it all back and start from scratch and do the cups again. That's what happens. It sucks getting old, but what are you going to do? It has its advantages, you know, experience. You've got plenty of experience, but you lose your memory a little bit. This has been a pretty rough year. This is the first Easter without both my sisters. I lost my sister Rose last July, and last month I lost my sister Ann. So I have no more sisters. Okay, that should do it. Let's take a peek. That's plenty. What happens is you got to be a little careful with this because it's soft, and you want to make sure. There you go. So this is how you try to do it. Go like this. Yeah. And it, as I said, it's soft, so you're going to have to be very gentle with it. And see, it folds in up. I try to fold it on top so it doesn't, and then you could patch it because, you know, if it cracks a little bit, you just patch it up. It's not a big deal. Tastes the same whether you have patches or not. But of course it's nice to have it perfect. I like to save a little dough because I put the crosses on the top. And I'll get this done and I'll be back when all my pie crusts are done. Okay, so I have all my ingredients here. I have 6. Don't forget, I'm making, this is a double batch. The recipe below will be for a single batch. This is 6 pounds of full cream ricotta, not skim, full. I got 4 cups of sugar, a little bit over a teaspoon of cinnamon, salt, and you could use half and half or cream, 3 cups, 12 eggs, 6 eggs for each 3 pounds. Vanilla, very, very, very important. Fiore d'orange. It's called orange flower water. Don't mistake it for orange blossom water. It's different. This is orange flower water, Fiore d'orange. You can get it on, I'm sure you can get it on Amazon. And this is citron, okay? When I was a kid, my mother used to give me the job of chopping this citron into tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces. Every time I used to do it, she'd say smaller, smaller. So you want it to sort of melt into the mixture. Well, about 10 years ago, I made a hallelujah discovery. I could put the citron in this little mini processor. We didn't have mini processors 60 years ago when I was a kid. So what I do is I cut it up, and I don't have to do tiny, tiny, tiny. I just cut it up and put it in here. I had my niece do it one year for me, and she said, wow, this is a very annoying job. And I said, tell me about it. I used to do it when I was a kid. My mother used to hate to do it, so she used to give me the job. But since I discovered this little processor, I said, why didn't I think of this sooner? So what I do is grind it up. And it will get stuck all the time. It gets stuck because it's sticky. There we go. And it gets tiny, tiny, tiny. My mother would be proud. And here you go. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, I don't have to cut it by hand anymore. Modern inventions. Anyway, so I have my ricotta. What I'm gonna do is add all my ingredients and mix it in a little bit at a time. Okay, so I got a teaspoon of vanilla for each one. So I gotta get 2 teaspoons. I eyeball it. You can measure if you want. That's plenty. 4 cups of sugar, 2 cups for each one. Some cinnamon, some salt, some eggs, 12 eggs to be exact. So I'm gonna mix this up and then I'll add my last ingredients. Once you mix this up, and I have the wheat over there with the milk and butter cooling off. You don't want to put it in really hot. So I cooled it off and I'm gonna mix this. When I was a kid, my mother used to make me stand on a stool, a step stool. I remember we had this old blue one. And she used to teach me how to cook or help tell me what to bake. She used to sit there in front of the window and tell me, put in 2 cups of sugar, put in this, put in that. That's how I learned to cook. Okay, so I'm going to put this a little higher and try to get all the lumps out of the ricotta. Okay, I'm going to put in the cream, half and half, whatever you want to use. Whoop. Got a little middle gummy. The fiore d'orange. This is about an ounce, I think, or a tablespoon. But I'm going to measure it because I'm curious myself. This is a tablespoon. So let's see. It's like a tablespoon and a half. Yep, tablespoon and a half. And I'm putting them both in. You could smell it. It gives the pastiera such a flavor. And this is a brand I get at the Chico's. But I'm sure you could find it online. They have everything online. And I'm adding my citron. My wonderful, wonderfully tiny chopped up citron. Okay. You can smell the orange flower water. It's delicioso. Once you get this all mixed, you add in your barley mixture and it's ready to bake. And I'm going to fill them up to the top, those 2 right there. And I was going to say incorporated, but somebody made a comment on my website, on my channel. Stop saying incorporate. Well, what do you want me to say? I'm going to mix it, okay? It's done. Now I'm going to add in this here. It's been cooling. I forgot to say, when you do the crust, after you make the crust, you should let it rest for about 30 minutes. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so here is the wheat. I tasted it. It's delicious. You can eat it with a spoon yourself. It's like oatmeal, farina, whatever. Delicious. And this is my one-arm banded pot that I have for many, many years. I don't know, I just don't want to throw it out. It's these pots and pans I got at my bridal shower. My sister Ann gave them to me. So they will never get thrown out. So once you get all of the wheat mixed in, you can pour them into the pans and we'll put them in the oven. And I'll come back and show you when I'm done. Okay, so when you put the mix into the pan, you got to make sure you mix it up because sometimes the wheat settles to the bottom. So I like to mix it up and get as much as I can on the bottom. And try to evenly distribute it. So it's, I'm putting it in ladle by ladle, and then I'll do it on this one too. Here, whoops, sorry. I like to make sure I get it evenly distributed. I have the oven heating up at 350, and these take about 2 hours. I fill them up as high as I can. It's so nice. And I don't put the crosses on it till the end, because if you put it on now, they sink in. So I wait for it to cook a little bit before I put them on. Okay. Okay, so the oven is heated to 350. I'm gonna put these in. Well, since I have the oven, I mean, if I was to put them in alone without the tray, I would put them side by side. But since I have the trays, I put one on top, one in the middle, and then after about an hour, I switch them so they cook evenly. And the strips that I put on top, I don't do it right away. I try doing it at the beginning, they sink. So I wait about an hour and then I put the strips on. So now these things, they're high, they're thick. It takes, and my oven is a little lopsided. It takes about 2 hours at 350. And then when you take them out, I'll show you, they jiggle a little bit, but that's okay. Because when they jiggle, it's their custody, you know, it's creamy, whatever. So when they're ready, I'll take them out and I'll show you. I'm gonna put the pastry on top of the pie. It's hard. It moves, it's jelly. It's like jelly. I gotta grease my wheels here. Okay, so put one that way.
Lay that down.
And one the other way. And just put it back in. At this point, it's been cooking for about an hour or so. Okay, see you in about an hour. Okay, it's been 2 hours. And look at my beautiful pastiera. Wow. You see, it's a little jiggly, but that's okay, because once it chills, it sets. Like this one here, that can take another 10 minutes because the top one cooked more. But this is it. And I'm just gonna let it chill in the pan here. And the other one is going to cook about 10 more minutes. You know, the temperature in your oven, you know your oven better than anyone. So anyway, this is my beautiful masterpiece, my beautiful pastiera, the tradition on Easter. And I want to wish everyone a happy Easter with family and friends and all your loved ones. Buona Pasqua.